Welcome to another edition of Self-Defense Across America. Okay, we're back with some more defensive use of a firearm stories for you. We're going to start in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and it's at the Southwest 29th Street Motors is where this incident occurred. Our adult victim was unharmed, and our suspect, 55-year-old Marvin Lee Thomas, he was killed in this incident. Oklahoma City police have identified the man killed in the city's second homicide of the year. Well, that's a lot for, I think Oklahoma City has a murder rate around 10. And there are probably 700,000 people. So that's a lot for them to have two in 1 week. This was on the 9th. That's a lot for them to have two just in the first 9 days of the year. Anyway, back to the story. Officers said 55-year-old Marvin Thomas was killed Monday at a shooting inside Southwest 29th Street Motors, a business that sells cars and does repairs. Gates surrounding the building were locked Tuesday. Officers received a 911 call of a shooting around 5:30 p.m. Monday night. Homicide detectives just got on the scene and they're conducting their investigations right now, says the police sergeant. The investigation uncovered Thomas had been shot twice. Turns out the people that were shot arrived at the business, got into some type of altercation with another person inside. Police said Thomas walked into the dealership and got into a fight with an employee over a business deal. That's when Thomas reportedly pulled out a knife. He attempted to swing a knife at that person and in turn was shot and killed. Oklahoma City police said they reviewed surveillance video from inside the business and talked to other employees. After those conversations, officers determined the shooting was in self-defense. No one was arrested in that case, but police will present the information on the shooting to the the county's district attorney's office. Okay, so this guy goes in there complaining about something that they did to his car probably, and he pulls out a knife, and then what they say, bring a knife to a gunfight. Didn't work out too well for this guy. But the more thing about this that's more alarming is the two homicides already in Oklahoma City as of the 9th of January. That's moving at a pretty good pace for them. Okay, let's go on to Dalmatia, Pennsylvania, however you say that. We have a teen male that was unharmed. We have a 31-year-old female that was killed, Brandy Hauk. And we have our suspect, this is a home invasion, perp nose victim, 47-year-old Tracy Adams, and that's a male, and he was killed. And let's see what happens here. New details revealed in the North Cumberland County double homicide where two people were shot and killed, according to the district attorney's office of North Cumberland County. An investigation was conducted into a double homicide on Malta Road in Lower Mahoney Township that occurred around 5 p.m. Sunday. Through further investigation, Pennsylvania State Police stated a fight occurred earlier in the day between two women, including a juvenile, and 47-year-old Tracy Adams. The women escaped and ran to 31-year-old Brandy Hauk's home. Police say Adams drove to Hauk's home, brandished a pistol, and demanded Hauk leave. Adams then shot Hauk in the head through the front door, and she died on the scene from her injuries. Adams forcibly entered the house with the alleged intent to cause death or injury to those inside. Detectives believe a child, acting in self-defense, shot Adams in the head and killed him while he was shielding the two women behind him. The district attorney's office of North Cumberland County noted the child's actions were justifiable and prevented death or injury to the remaining people inside the home. So this kind of stuff, I don't know how old the kid is. It says 12 to 17. So he's somewhere in that age range. And that's, making a kid have to kill somebody like that guy did, making the kid feel like he had to shoot that man. I mean, that's going to live with that kid forever. And you don't know if he was just like a good kid or, someone that maybe was going to end up in jail anyway. But I don't know, having to shoot somebody as a teenager, if you're not somebody that's inclined to that, being forced to it is, going to have problems for that kid for the rest of his life. All right, we're going to go to Mount Vernon, Kentucky, where we have Phillip Fox. That's our victim, and he was unharmed. And our suspect knows him. It says family relationship. Joseph A. Dawson, 48-year-old male. He was killed in this incident. Kentucky State Police continue to investigate the death of a 48-year-old Rockcastle County man. In a news release, 48-year-old Joseph Dawson of Berea was arguing at a Rockcastle home with his wife, Catherine Dawson, and Phillip Fox, a family member of hers. Dawson was reportedly threatening to kill both Fox and his wife. He was said to be armed with a kitchen knife and a machete. Fox proceeded to arm himself with a gun and shoot Dawson, who retreated to the porch of the home. He was fatally injured and pronounced dead. This is a second one with the knife and the gunfight. So this dude is trying to kill both his wife and some family member of hers. But the family member, Phillip Fox, pulled out a gun when this guy came after them with a machete. So luckily the woman wasn't harmed. That one could have gone bad in a lot of different ways. Okay, Ruffin, North Carolina. Our victim was unharmed and arrested. You always wonder when he probably had a gun and wasn't supposed to, because that's usually how the victims end up getting arrested. 45-year-old Kevin Eugene Bartlett, that was our victim. And our suspect was injured, and he was an acquaintance, 37-year-old Matthew Lee Martin. And these guys apparently knew each other. On Sunday, January 7th, 2024, at around 7:30 p.m., Rockingham County Sheriff's deputies responded to 240 Palm Road in Ruffin, North Carolina, to a reported gunshot victim. Upon their arrival, they found Matthew Lee Martin, 37, of that address, suffering from several gunshot wounds. Martin was transported to a local area hospital for treatment and is expected to recover. Upon further investigation, Rockingham County Sheriff's investigators learned that an argument had occurred between Martin and his roommate, Kevin Eugene Bartlett, who was 45 years old. According to witnesses, during the argument, Martin retrieved a handgun and threatened Bartlett. Bartlett then retrieved a different handgun from within the residence and shot Martin multiple times. At this time, Kevin Eugene Bartlett has been charged with possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, of course. He was placed in the Rockingham County Detention Facility under a $15,000 secured bond. And after consultation with the Rockingham County District Attorney's Office, no charges have been filed against Bartlett at this time for the shooting of Martin, as it has been determined that the act happened in self-defense based on the evidence and eyewitness statements. This is an ongoing investigation. So these two guys get in it, and one pulls out a gun, and then the other guy pulls out a gun and starts shooting the guy. Or they threaten each other with it, I should just say. And the guy that pulled out the gun, or had the gun, was a convicted felon, and he's in jail because of his past and not because of the situation that occurred. So that kind of stuff happens a lot. Whenever I see that the victim has been arrested, it's almost always they were arrested because they were a felon that had a gun and they weren't supposed to. Okay, so let's go to Phoenix, Arizona, where we have an adult male victim who was unharmed. We got two suspects in this one, an adult male that was killed and an adult male that was injured, and this one looks like an armed robbery. One person is dead and another is injured after a shooting during a reported burglary in Phoenix late Sunday night. The incident occurred around 10:30 p.m. in the area of 35th Avenue and Bell Road. Phoenix police officers were dispatched to a home for a residential burglary call. Officers were directed to a home with an open door and found two men inside with gunshot wounds. One of them died at the scene. The second was taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. The man who died has only been identified as a man in his 50s. Police say the suspect fled the scene before officers arrived. So it said the suspect, I see, one of the suspects, it says one of the suspects was killed and the other one was injured. So our victim the homeowner killed one and apparently hit the other one, but the other one was able to get away. So that sounds like he'll be good with the self-defense on that one. All right, let's go to Buckeye, Arizona, where an adult male victim was unharmed, and our suspect was an adult male, and he was injured, and this looks like a home invasion. Buckeye police are investigating a shooting overnight that left a man in critical condition. Police say they were called to the area of Watson and Yuma Roads just before 2:30 a.m. for a report of shots fired. When officers arrived, they found a man walking out of the home with his hands up. He was detained in the backyard. They found a man suffering from a gunshot wound. The man was taken to the hospital and is in critical condition. Initial investigation has uncovered that the man detained the homeowner. So the homeowner is the one that came out with his arms up, and he got detained by the police. Him and his family were asleep when they heard the doorbell. He told police he grabbed a gun and looked out the front window and saw nobody was there. He then heard noises coming from the backyard. He went to the back door and confronted an unknown man. The homeowner told police the man ignored commands to leave and started walking towards the homeowner. That's when the homeowner fired a single shot at the man. Neither the victim nor the homeowner have been identified. It was unclear if anyone will face charges. The shooting remains under investigation. That one's going to be, that one's going to be iffy. That guy is lucky probably that he's in Arizona because depending on how you interpret that story, he shot a guy in the backyard and he says the guy was coming at him, but that one, hopefully nothing happens to him in that one. Okay, San Antonio, Texas, at the Purple Dragon Cannabis Dispensary. Our victim was a 23-year-old male. He was injured, and this is an armed robbery. Our suspect was a 24-year-old, and he was injured. A dramatic shootout that prevented a robbery has left 2 people hospitalized, and several other suspects remain on the run. According to the San Antonio Police Department, the incident happened at the Purple Dragon Cannabis Dispensary around 3:20 a.m. early Saturday. Police say that when they arrived at the scene, they found a 23-year-old man lying on the ground with a gunshot wounds. Simultaneously, the 24-year-old suspect was found in the restroom, also suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. Authorities share that the suspect entered the dispensary and opened fire at the victim, who is an employee at the store. That's when the victim retaliated and brandished his firearm and began firing back. Emergency services were able to take both the suspect and victim to a local hospital. The victim is in stable condition while the suspect remains in critical. Both firearms involved were recovered at the scene, according to the sergeant. The incident appeared to be an attempted armed robbery as several suspects entered the business. The remaining suspects managed to flee the scene and their whereabouts is currently unknown. The investigation into this violent encounter is ongoing, and authorities are urging anyone with information to call them. So this guy, it sounds like this guy and a couple of his buddies come just barging in there and just start shooting at this guy. And he fortunately had a gun close by and was able to fire back, and that he survived the situation. Both he and the suspect survived the situation, and then the other guys took off. But that's not uncommon. But that happened at, what did that say, 3:20 in the morning? 3:20 in the morning. So apparently it's still open at 3:20 in the morning because the guy was in the store when they broke into it. Read like he was just right there. So they must be open 24/7 down there in San Antonio. Okay. Go to Houston, Texas, where we have an adult male who was unharmed. That's our victim. And this looks like an armed robbery. Our suspect is a 25-year-old male, and he was killed in this armed robbery attempt. Houston police say a man who was shot to death early Saturday morning may have been involved in a robbery. Police initially responded to a report of a robbery and a shooting in the 5600 block of Maxwell. Around 1 a.m., police learned that a woman and her friend had just come back to the apartment complex after eating, and the friend got out of the woman's pickup truck to go into his apartment. Police say the woman was in her pickup truck getting ready to leave when 2 people reportedly came up with pistols and pulled her out of the vehicle at gunpoint. The woman's friend heard what was going on from his apartment and came out with a pistol, according to the police. There was an exchange of gunfire. Police say the man who was killed is believed to have been the man who was robbing the woman. Authorities say the other person who was with him took off running. The investigation is ongoing. So this lady's actually probably pretty lucky that the guy she was with came back outside. They likely would have just robbed her and took her car, but she could have ended up getting shot in the whole ordeal in some kind of, carjacking situation. This is a weekly video, so if you like this type of content, hit that like button, leave your thoughts in the comments, and consider subscribing. And I'll catch you next week.